Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Sri Ranga Chaitra Aila Kavari Pratir. Sri Ranga Dekiya Prema Hoila Astir. Sri Ranga Chaitra Aila Kavariya Tir. Sri Ranga Dekiya Prema Hoila Astir. Sri Ranga Chaitra Aila Kavariya Tir. Sri Ranga Dekiya Preme Hoila Astir. Vaishnavis. Sri Ranga Chaitra, to the place where the temple of Ranganath is situated. Aila came, Kaverira of the river Kaveri, Tira, the bank, Sri Ranga Dekiya. After seeing this temple, Preme, in love of Godhead. Haila became. Astira, agitated. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to the land of Sri Ranga Chaitra on the bank of the Kaveri, he visited the temple of Sri Ranganath and was there overwhelmed in the ecstasy of love of Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lived at the house of Chimalabat for the 4 months of the rainy season. Sri Chimalabat was both a member of the Sri Vaishnava community and a learned scholar. Therefore, when he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was both a great scholar and a great devotee of the Lord, he was very much astonished. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed the Chaturmasya months with the Sri Vaishnavas, dancing, singing, and chanting the holy name of the Lord. After the end of the Chaturmasya, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued traveling throughout southern India. At that time, he met Paramananda Puri. After this, Krishnadas, the servant of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was delivered from the clutches of a Bhattatari. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then preached that Lord Krishna's name should also be chanted by brahmanas who are accustomed to chanting Lord Rama's name. Purport. In the Malabar district, a section of the brahmanas are known as Nam Buddhi Brahmanas, and the Bhattataris are their priests. Bhattataris know many tantric black arts, such as the art of killing a person, of bringing him under submission, and of destroying or devastating him. They are very expert in these black arts, and one such Bhattatari bewildered the personal servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, while the servant accompanied the Lord in his travels through South India. Somehow or other, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered this Krishnadas from the clutches of the Bhattatari. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is well known as Patita Pavana, the savior of all fallen souls, and he proved this in his behavior towards his personal servant, Krishnadas, whom he saved. Sometimes the word Bhattatari is misspelled in Bengal as Bhattamadi. Om Agana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militang Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're getting an encapsulation, a short summary of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes in Madhya Leela. Kaviraj Goswami is giving you advanced notice. He wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita when he was around the age of 95, and he didn't know how long he would be in this world. So he gave us a synopsis of the Madhya Leela, this first chapter, and then later he would develop the themes. Also, he's stimulating our remembrance of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. You may think a summary is just a summary. Let's get to the real explanation, the real full account. But the way Smarana works, remembrance, is that just a brief mention can trigger deep memories, deep thoughts of Gauranga's Leela, Krishna's Leela. So Kaviraj is both giving advance notice in case he doesn't finish Chaitanya Charitamrita, just like Prabhupada, he gave us Krishna book in case that he wouldn't finish the 10th canto. He gave Krishna book, which he said is the summary study of the 10th canto. And he said Krishna book, actually he said Krishna book is his favorite book. He would have devotees read that book to him, and he would say, I didn't write this. Krishna has spoken this. Sometimes devotees wonder, why in Krishna book do you have like the gopis saying, or some other associates of Krishna saying, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita? Do you ever wonder about that? Prabhupada explained, summary study means I can do whatever I like. So he gave us the Krishna book in case he didn't finish the 10th canto. When he's about to depart, devotees asked him, is there anything you feel you haven't done? Because we want you to stay, and you haven't finished the Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada replied, what I've done is enough about Srimad Bhagavatam. And as we said, we already have Krishna book to treasure. So Kaviraj Goswami He's in his mid-90s. He doesn't know how long he's going to be around. So he's both protecting us by giving us just a synopsis of the Madhya Leela pastimes, and he's also triggering our remembrance of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Just seeing anything related to Krishna makes a devotee remember Krishna. Who is it? Mukunda, the royal physician, was seated high on the throne with the doctor, with the king that he was tending, and then someone came to fan the king. This is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Someone came to fan the king with a peacock feather fan. Mukunda sees the peacock feather and falls off the high seat in ecstasy because he's thinking, Krishna, Krishna. The peacock feathered fan reminded him of Krishna so much he fell off the high seat onto the ground in ecstasy. The king is asking, what's wrong? Is everything all right? Up, just a bit of epilepsy. Epileptic seizure. He didn't reveal his inner ecstasies. Devotees can choose when to reveal their depths and when not to. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was in Navadep, he didn't reveal the full extent of his being Patita Pavana. Navadep was a very puffed up place at the time, full of all kinds of logicians, Vedic experts who were expert in everything except the conclusion of the Vedas, all kinds of smarta brahmanas. So, Prabhupada explains in one purport that it was only when Lord Chaitanya left Navadep and took his tour of South India that he fully opened the throttle as Patita Pavana. Whoever crossed his path became a pure devotee, and then that person would cross other people's paths and they become pure devotees. Even while Lord Chaitanya is touring South India, denizens from other planets, devatas, demigods would come just to participate in his Harinam Sankirtan. They disguise themselves as human beings. So in this way, the Sankirtan movement is interplanetary. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes by Lord Chaitanya launching the Sankirtan movement in South India, he actually was covering the whole universe. Sometimes Lord Shiva and Parvati would meet up with Mahaprabhu in South India in a solitary place. So all this is going on after Lord Chaitanya left Navadep. In Navadep, he revealed himself mainly to very close associates. The private kirtans at Srivasangan, the house of Srivas Thakur. There, the spot is still in Mayapur when you visit. You can go to Srivasangan. Very select persons were allowed in that kirtan because Mahaprabhu is exposing his inner ecstasies. Sometimes people would try to sneak into the kirtan, into the house. The mother-in-law of Srivas, she was somehow they're hiding to observe the kirtan. That's the wife, the mother of Srivas Thakur's wife, Malini. So the mother-in-law was hiding out, and in the middle of the kirtan, Mahaprabhu says, something's not right here. Something's out of order here. And Srivas searched the house and found the mother-in-law, and he pulled her out of the house. Srivas is very protective of Lord Chaitanya's ecstasies. So much so that when the son of Srivas died in the middle of a nocturnal kirtan, you see, the kirtan would often take place in the courtyard outside the house. So Mahaprabhu is having kirtan in showing his internal consciousness. He's lost track of the external world. He's lost in ecstatic glorification of Krishna, feeling separation from Krishna. Meanwhile, in the house, Srivasa's son is dying, and the ladies of the house are surrounding him, and you can understand. They're mourning, the son dies. Srivas Thakur is alerted. He leaves the kirtan. He goes inside the house and sees the scene. And what's the first thought he has? We can't let this news get out. We don't want Mahaprabhu to hear this because his kirtan ecstasies will be interrupted. He'll come back to external consciousness. So he chastised the ladies. What are you crying for? Please stop. If Mahaprabhu hears the news, the kirtan may end. We don't want that to happen. Please stop. Or if you can't stop crying, please delay your emotional outbursts until after the kirtan. This is Srivasta. So the kirtan ended 7 hours later. And then Mahaprabhu says, did something inauspicious or something unusual happen during the kirtan tonight? And then the devotees told him very reluctantly, because Srivas Thakur had made sure no one would say anything. And in fact, one point, he told the ladies of the house, if you go on crying and if you don't stop, I'm going to jump in the Ganga and drown myself. You might say, this is very severe. I mean, we're human beings. What's wrong with lamenting upon the passing of someone's son? But these are not ordinary human beings. Srivas Thakur, of course, is Narada Muni. And his associate, Sri Ram Pandit, is Narada Muni's best friend, Parvat Muni. So the point is, he's so tuned in to Lord Chaitanya's pleasure that he can repress the news that his own son has died just to not affect the ecstasies of Mahaprabhu. That's the point we should take away. It's not that we're meant to be hard-hearted human beings, can't cry when someone leaves. But the point is, Srivas Thakur is so tuned in to the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, rather than his own situation of happiness and distress. So when Mahaprabhu heard that during my kirtan 7 hours ago, the son of Srivas departed, and no one would tell me because they didn't want to interrupt the kirtan, he starts crying. Like, what kind of, these devotees, who can understand their bhakti? It's so deep. Mahaprabhu was crying. And then he went into the house where the ladies were surrounding the departed body of the son. And Lord Chaitanya called the departed jiva back to the body and asked, why have you left? Why have you done this? And the departed soul replied, my time in this body, my time in this household is over. I will go wherever you send me. So the associates of Srivas Thakur, his family, the devotees, they were astonished as this departed soul spoke knowledge of how we are not the body. We spend a certain time in our body, we spend a certain time in a family, then we move on. And the departed soul said, I'm going to wherever you send me. He told that to Lord Chaitanya. That is my future. Wherever you send me, that's where I'll go. So then the departed soul departed again. And Still you're wondering, you're left hanging. Srivas Thakur lost his son. All right, he stopped the ladies from crying, at least during the kirtan. He told them, wait till later. If you can't check it now, if you can't stop completely, wait till later. But still, the son has departed. This tragedy has happened. No one expected it. So Lord Chaitanya told Srivas and his family, Nityananda Prabhu and I are now your sons. Consider us your sons. So in this way, the Leela ended. So that's Lord Chaitanya in Navadep. He only manifested his inner ecstasies and immersion in Harinam, generally only in private, because there were so many blasphemers, so many offenders, dry logicians in Navadep. Another person tried to sneak into the kirtan at Srivas Sangha. He was known as a very austere brahmachari who lived just by drinking milk. So Srivas, in kind of naivete, thought, well, this is a very austere brahmachari who wants to see the kirtan. I'll find a spot for him to hide so he can benefit, because after all, he's so austere. So during the kirtan, Mahaprabhu once again notices something's not right in this house. Srivas, what's going on? Well, you see, my lord, there was this brahmachari, and he's very austere. He lives only by drinking milk. So I thought to invite him to the kirtan. As long as he kept himself hidden, I thought it would be all right. He's so austere. He only lives by drinking milk. Lord Chaitanya said, if someone can attain Krishna just by living on milk, it's not possible. You cannot attain Krishna just by being a milk-drinking brahmachari. So Srivas Thakur escorted the milk-drinking brahmachari out of the house. But the milk-drinking brahmachari begged, just give me one chance to look at Gauranga. Please, just give me a chance. Lord Chaitanya heard that and said, oh, come back, come back. Lord Chaitanya put his lotus feet on the brahmachari's head. And then, of course, you know, Gopal Chakravarti. He was a smarta brahmana, envious of the Vaishnavas. What is all this noise going on at night in the house of Srivas Thakur? Why is he known by some as an ecstatic devotee, as opposed to we smarta brahmanas, ritualistic brahmanas who know all the mantras, the tantras, the this, the that, the pious activities, the punya. We know all these things. What? And these guys just chant Hare Krishna. So he said, I know what to do. They won't let me in the kirtan. I want to see the fanatics. I want to come and watch these emotional, sentimental fanatics. But they don't let me in. So what did he do? On the front step of Srivas Thakur's house, Gopal Chakravarti put all the ingredients for worshiping Durga. So now we'll finish off his fame. The whole neighborhood will see the ingredients, the articles, like wine for worshiping Durga. And that way his reputation as a saintly Vaishnava will be finished. So he did that. He put unclean articles on the step of Srivas Thakur. All the items for puja, for Durga Devi, still common in Bengal today. And then Srivas, in the morning, came out of his house and saw, look what's on my front step. Oh, I must be a Durga worshiper. He announced to the whole neighborhood, come and see where I'm really at. I'm masquerading as a Vaishnava. But just see, look what's on my front step. Now you can understand my real portfolio. Of course, the neighbors understood Srivas Thakur as a rare Vaishnava, so they were outraged. So this is going on in Navadep. But when Lord Chaitanya leaves Navadep for his tour of South India, he left at the age of 24. Of course, you know that there's no material age for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But after 24 years from his appearance in Navadep, he left. And then he was, for 24 more years, he was present in this world. 6 of those 24 last years were spent traveling in South India mainly, and also going to Vrindavan. So he spent about 18 years in Puri. And the last 12 years of those 18 years were especially intense, in which he was feeling acute separation from Krishna, having taken the role of Srimati Radharani, having taken her position, her emotions. So, at first, the first part of his stay in Puri, the residents of Navadep would come every year for Rath Yatra. They did that 20 years in a row, more or less 20 years in a row. And they would stay for 4 months in Puri. Srivas, Advaita. During the 4 months of Chaturmasya. What is this Chaturmasya? It's based on the climate of India, as well as the Vaishnav calendar. Those two things combined bring about Chaturmasya. For 4 months, including the rainy season, the sadhus don't travel. They just stay in one place and deepen their spiritual practices, deepen their studies. So that's when the residents of Navadep would come to Puri to be with Mahaprabhu. They would stay for 4 months, and then they would go. And Kaviraj Goswami describes, in their absence from Puri, Lord Chaitanya is feeling acute separation from them. They practically couldn't bear to be without each other. Still, in Puri, Lord Chaitanya told Nityananda, don't come to Puri anymore. I want you to stay in Bengal and preach. You can do a task that no one else can do. You can do a task not even I can do. I want you to deliver all of Bengal, so don't come to Puri. Of course, Nityananda Prabhu, being what he is, he came anyway. So we're hearing about Lord Chaitanya in South India. He's met up with Sri Vaishnavas. Sri Vaishnavas are very close to Gaudiya Vaishnavas, but there are differences. In short, the Sri Vaishnavas they focus on Aishvarya, the opulence of Vaikuntha. And Gaudiya Vaishnavas focus on the Madhurya, the sweetness of Goloka Vrindavan. And the Sri Vaishnavas worship Lakshmi Narayan, Lakshmi, Sri. And the Gaudiya Vaishnavas worship Radha Krishna. The Sri Vaishnavas are focused on temple worship, and the Gaudiya Vaishnavas are focused on Harinam Sankirtan. Just like in this verse, it says, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed the Chaturmasya months with the Sri Vaishnavas, dancing, singing, and chanting the holy name of the Lord. He's with the Sri Vaishnavas, but as the word for word say, Krishna Sankirtane, he's chanting Hare Krishna. They are devotees of Lakshmi Narayan. The Sri Vaishnavas have certain scriptures they focus on more than the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Gaudiya Vaishnavas focus on Vedanta, so do the Sri Vaishnavas, but the Sri Vaishnavas especially focus on the commentary by Ramanuja. And the Gaudiya Vaishnavas focus on the commentary, especially by Baladev Vijayabhushan. And of course, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas focus on Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, whereas the Sri Vaishnavas have their texts by the Alvars, as well as Upanishads, Vedas, the like. So we're like cousins. So when Mahaprabhu would tour South India, he'd come upon Sri Vaishnavas, and in the case of Venkata where Lord Chaitanya stayed for 4 months at the house of Venkata who's a Sri Vaishnava, Lord Chaitanya would poke him a bit. If you're Lakshmi Devi, Sri is so great, why does she perform austerities to become a gopi in Vrindavan? So Lord Chaitanya's poking him. Also, you hear that he met up with Ram Bhaktas, and they were chanting the holy name of Ram, and Mahaprabhu would urge them to also chant Hare Krishna. So in this way, Mahaprabhu was always pushing Krishna, Radha Krishna, feeling separation from Krishna. You know how he would try to convince Murari, why are you so focused on Ram? Krishna is the sweetest. Krishna is the most beautiful. And Murari Gupta he said, all last night I thought about how to follow your order, that I should stop focusing on Ram and take my concentration and put it on Krishna. I tried. I can't do it, couldn't do it. So he came to Mahaprabhu and said, let me die now because I can't fulfill your order. I've sold my head to the lotus feet of Ram. I can't take it away. Lord Chaitanya said, this is a real devotee. He cannot separate himself from his master even when the master requests. And why should you give up the worship of Ram when you are Sakshat Hanuman? You are directly Hanuman. Also, you know the brothers of Anupam, Rupa and Sanatan. They were Krishna Bhaktas, staunch Krishna Bhaktas. They were prevailing upon their younger brother Anupam, the same way Mahaprabhu was prevailing upon Murari Gupta. Focus on Krishna. Krishna is the sweetest. Krishna is the most beautiful. But again, Anupam couldn't do it. So here in South India, Lord Chaitanya is meeting up with Ram Bhaktas. And he tells them, you also chant Hare Krishna. Actually, on the level of rag, on the level of spontaneous love of Krishna, when the devotee chants Hare Ram, he's referring to Krishna as Radha Raman. You can take the Ram in the Hare Krishna mantra as referring to Ramchandra. You can take it as referring to Balaram. You can even, Prabhupada said, take it as referring to Parashuram. They're all Rams, but Jiva Goswami explains that in the higher stages of bhakti, Ram is Radha Raman, Krishna, the companion of Srimati Radharani. So finally, what about the Bhattataris? Can you believe it? Lord Chaitanya's personal servant named Kala Krishnadas, traveling with Mahaprabhu, serving him directly as they travel in South India. The Shastra, Chaitanya Charitamrita, describes Kala Krishnadas as being very simple and gentle. But bhakti, although it's nurtured by simplicity and being gentle, knowledge is required to go the distance. And that seems to have been the Achilles heel of Kala Krishnadas. He wasn't very knowledgeable, even though he's in the direct association of Mahaprabhu, serving him directly. So one morning, Kala Krishnadas disappears. As we would say in old-fashioned ISKCON lingo, he blooped. Lord Chaitanya notices, where's my servant? And Lord Chaitanya knows the Bhattataris have grabbed him. As the purport describes, the Bhattataris are like a nomadic community of tantrics. Some say Shaivites also. And they have all kinds of mystical powers in terms of black magic, being able to kill a person, bring him under submission, destroy or devastate him. And so they allured Kala Krishnadas with women, and Kala Krishnadas took off for their camp. And Mahaprabhu, noting what's happening, his servant is gone, goes after Kala Krishnadas. This is how Mahaprabhu is Patita Pavana, as Prabhupada writes. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is well known as Patita Pavana, the savior of all fallen souls, and he proved this in his behavior toward his personal servant, Krishnadas, whom he saved. He went after Kala Krishnadas to get him back. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself was chasing after a bloop devotee. How many times do we do that? Someone leaves and goes down to Byron Beach and I'm not coming back. Will we chase after him? Mahaprabhu chased after Kala Krishnadas. He came to the camp of the Bhattataris and said, why are you inconveniencing me, taking my servant? He gave them some credit in terms of talking. You're all renunciants. I'm a renunciant. Of course, they're false renunciants. They're wearing clothes of renunciants and doing all kinds of abominable things. But Mahaprabhu is, you would say, dickering with them. Look. Like, we're all renunciants. You took my servant. You're inconveniencing me. Can you imagine the Supreme Personality of Godhead saying like that? What was the Bhattataris' response? They all brought out their knives to kill Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's the only time in Gaura Leela where someone tries to kill Mahaprabhu. They took out their swords and knives and went after him. But Mahaprabhu, with his mystic power, made them turn their knives and swords upon themselves. And they cut themselves to pieces. And so there's a whole tumult now in the camp of the Bhattataris. There's crying because some of them obviously had died or severely wounded. There's a whole tumult. And amidst that tumult, Gauranga Mahaprabhu grabs Kala Krishnadas by his hair and says, we're going. Grabs him by the hair and pulls him away. So we don't hear anything more about this until Mahaprabhu returns to Puri. And all the devotees are so happy seeing him that he's returned, and Lord Chaitanya is embracing them all. And then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asks everyone to leave, except Kala Krishnadas, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is still there. Lord Chaitanya says, let me tell you something. Just see the character of this person who's supposed to be assisting me. When we were touring South India, he was allured by the Bhattataris. I am no longer responsible for him. He can go wherever he likes. He's rejecting Kala Krishnadas. Kala Krishnadas starts crying, but Lord Chaitanya pays it no mind. His personal servant's crying. Mahaprabhu went to take lunch. Didn't give any regard to the brokenheartedness of his servant. But the devotees began to consider what to do. So Prabhupada makes the point that you can be abandoned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the devotees are more merciful. So even though Mahaprabhu rejected Kala Krishnadas, the devotees felt compassion. What can we do? What can we do? You can't believe how devastated Kala Krishnadas must have been. So the devotees, headed by Nityananda, began to consider. Nityananda, Mukunda, two other devotees, they met together. What to do? What to do? How to fix this situation? So they thought, someone needs to go to Navadep to let all the Navadep Vasis know that Mahaprabhu has returned from South India to Puri. So then they can come and visit him because they're feeling sad in his being away. So we need someone to go see Mother Sachi, go see Advaita Acharya, notify them. Mahaprabhu is back in Puri, please come. So why don't we send Kala Krishnadas? So in that way, the devotees showed their mercy. One very important point. Prabhupada points out in the purport that the problem of Kala Krishnadas is factual evidence, he says, that you can fall even in the presence of the Supreme Personality of God. He says this is factual evidence, like a lawyer. This is prima facie. Is that what you say, Pratap? Prima facie evidence. Why? How could Kala Krishnadas fall in the personal association of Mahaprabhu? But Prabhupada points out, this is the way it is. Because the jiva has slight independence. That the jiva can choose wrongly even in the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Kala Krishnadas misused his slight independence. Away he went. So Prabhupada explains in the purport that this shows you how strong Maya is. That even in the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you can be dragged away. What to speak of others who are not in the personal association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this incident of Kala Krishnadas is very instructive. And now the devotees are planning how to rescue him. Mahaprabhu has banished him. I don't want to see him. I'm not responsible for him. He can go wherever he likes. So the next morning, the devotees, headed by Nityananda, tell Mahaprabhu, we need someone to go to Navadep to inform the devotees there of your return. The devotees are all waiting. We need to find someone. So Lord Chaitanya just says, choose whoever you like. Do whatever you like. Just totally detached. And so the devotees sent Kala Krishnadas, loaded with Jagannath Prasad, to Navadep. He first goes to the house of Sachi Mata, Lord Chaitanya's mother, and he gives her Jagannath Prasad and tells her the news. He's returned. He's returned to Puri. Then he goes to the house of Advaita Acharya, where all the Vaishnavas hang out. And he gives the news there. Advaita Acharya starts dancing in ecstasy and making ecstatic sounds. All the devotees, Haridas Thakur, Vasudev Dutt, they're all gathered at Advaita Acharya's house hearing the news. Karanga Mahaprabhu has returned to Puri. Let's all go to Puri. So in honor of the news, what did they do? Let's have a festival. So they had a 3-day festival. And then they all took off for Navadep. So these are the ways of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And let us remember the lesson taught by Kala Krishnadas, that even in the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, if one is not careful, Maya can sweep you away. One final point. I remember back in the days when Prabhupada was present with us. We all wanted, every disciple wanted a chance to be with Prabhupada. And we would naturally feel that anyone who had Prabhupada's physical association was the most fortunate. So at least I was always, when do I get the chance? When do I get the chance? These others are so fortunate. When do I get the physical association? So then in filing Prabhupada's correspondence, because I saw all the letters to him and from him during my BBT days in Los Angeles, I also had the service of handling his correspondence. I saw one letter where Prabhupada said, if you judge who is most dear to me by who's physically closest, then I say the mosquito is the best devotee. But what's the purpose of the mosquito? To bite me. All right. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Yes. Aniruddha Prabhu.
Thanks, Maharaj, for the class. The differentiation between the Sri Sampradaya and the Gaudiya Sampradaya in terms of the focus on Harinam and the focus on deity worship. I notice in our community, probably not here, but certainly in Melbourne, the devotees tend to focus on deity worship and neglect Harinam, or don't put the same amount of emphasis on Harinam. Even sometimes I go to people's houses and I see the array of personalities on their altars, and it's not always entirely as as our Gaudiya line follows, and so we see that devotees are very attached to the deity worship and the particular form of worship that they grew up with, and so how do we deal with that in encouraging them to focus more on Sankirtan rather than on deity worship, and in the context of you saying Lord Chaitanya encouraged Murari Gupta to change his meditation to that of Radha Krishna rather than Lord Ram, and it was very difficult for him to do that. So how do we gently or subtly nudge people towards that? Or the Gaudiya conclusion as opposed to perhaps the traditional approach.
I was hearing basically the same point raised in Adelaide. I just came from Adelaide yesterday. And their worry, the leaders in Adelaide, was that without understanding Mahaprabhu, what you said is going to happen. Without understanding that we are not just devotees of Krishna, we are devotees of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just like in some temples, like at Govardhana Echo Village, you'll see Radha Krishna, and right next to Radha Krishna is a Gauranga deity, to make the point. So we're not just devotees of Krishna. How would we know anything about Krishna without Gauranga Mahaprabhu? So we need to always be on a campaign in so many ways, stressing the glories of Lord Chaitanya. During my breakfast, I always hear over and over again an audio of teachings of Lord Chaitanya. I find that's a forgotten book because, of course, there's Chaitanya Charitamrita. And you think, we've got Chaitanya Charitamrita, teachings of Lord Chaitanya, that book is obsolete. It's an inconceivably brilliant book where Prabhupada encapsulates in one volume Sanatan Siksha, the instructions to Sanatan, the instructions to Rupa, the instructions to Ramananda Roy, the discussion with Prakashananda Saraswati in Varanasi. It's all there in one volume. Brilliant. So I recommend to devotees to become thoroughly conversant with teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And I found that in that way, they are indelibly impressed with the importance of Lord Chaitanya. And of course, they read Chaitanya Charitamrita. But that teachings of Lord Chaitanya is the summary study of Chaitanya Charitamrita, especially in regard to teaching, siksha. So again, in answer to your very salient point, we need to stress Lord Chaitanya amongst, especially the Indian community, because Mahaprabhu in India is often known as just a Bengali saint. And that's why there's so much confusion in India, in Bharat, about who is Krishna, because they're not approaching Krishna through Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anything else? Yes.
Welcoming Gauritai deities into their home, that the position and the form of the Gauritai deities, as far as I know, I think that Srila Prabhupada, when he installed Gauritai deities in his temples, they always had both their arms raised, signifying the mood of surrender. Whereas I find a lot of deities now are being installed with one arm up and one arm down, as in more of the dancing mood, rather than just that mood of surrender and that mood of, compassion and sharing Krishna consciousness with others.
Well, we have our deity minister here. He's expert in all these fine points. I always felt that Gauranga and Nityananda's hands are in the air because they are dancing. I remember in filing Prabhupada's letter, one last point, filing his letters, devotees were, when so-called ecstatic dancing first broke out in ISKCON. Before that, we all just would do the Swami step, both hands in the air, one foot in front of the other, and then ecstatic dancing came. So devotees were writing Prabhupada that we notice a change in the dancing. Devotees are doing this, the devotees are doing that. What about this ecstatic dancing? So Prabhupada wrote back, if someone is actually feeling ecstasy, that's all right. If they're actually feeling ecstasy, but I prefer dancing like Gauranga and Nityananda, like Gauritai deities, both hands in the air. You can also feel ecstasy in this way. Hare Krishna, Lord Srila Prabhupada.